Sophomores, what's up? Okay, I'm going to do something real quick on the board, similar to what you see in the video. I'm going to try and explain it along with the video so that you kind of understand the assignment. We're going to talk about blank verse, also known as iambic pentameter. This word comes from the word I am. I am is a sound, or what is technically called a foot of poetry that goes like this: da da, da da. Unaccented syllable, accented syllable, da da. If I say shall I, that's a da-da. It's an I am, so it says shall I. If I say compare, compare. Just listen to the sound of the word. It's an I am. It says compare. The accent is on the second syllable. Compare can be an I am. If I say thou art, I'm putting the accent on the second word, and I'm saying thou art. That's an I am. So iambic pentameter is the form of verse, also known as blank verse, that Shakespeare wrote in. Blank verse is a pentameter, which means each line has, what does pent mean? Pentameter. Pent means 5, so each line has 5 of these feet, these little chunks of sound in each line, and meter, you know, means measure. So iambic pentameter is a form of verse where each line has 5 feet, and they go da-da instead of da-da. They go da-da. Sounds dumb when I explain it like that, but you'll see it more clearly when we actually see a line of it. Okay, it's called blank verse because it is, over here, unrhymed. Okay, Shakespeare wrote in unrhymed iambic pentameter, and you're going to write 2 to 4 lines for me. If you really get going, maybe you'll write 8. I don't know. But I think this is your first assignment where I've actually given you to write a little poetry. I think you'll find this kind of fun. It's not rhymed, so it doesn't have to be anything too complicated. You don't have to rack your brain trying to find something to write about or some kind of way of putting something where you can come up with rhymes for it. It can just be a sentence, but it has to be metered properly. Shakespeare didn't, when he wrote this way, he did not keep everything perfect. He did not keep everything tidy. Not everything goes da 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 da. It doesn't have to be perfect. He wrote this to be spoken on stage. And even in his poetry needs to sound like natural speech too, not just a forced kind of rhythm. So you can break up the rhythm a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think 4 lines would be kind of a cool thing to shoot for. But if you really struggle with it, that's why I'm saying 2 to 4 lines. About anything you want to. You can look out the window and write a line of iambic pentameter. You can think about your mom or your dad or your honey bunny or whoever you want to think about and just write a line. You can write about your dog. Maybe that's your honey bunny. Let me give you an example. And there are examples in the video, in the YouTube video as well. Famous lines from a confused, you probably can't even read them on there. Famous lines from a confused young lover named Romeo. It says, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Now, on my video, that looks backwards. I don't know if that looks backwards to you. If it is, you just have to take my word for it. Also, you can easily Google that line right there, shall I compare thee to a summer's day, and it will bring up, it'll probably bring it up actually as a poem on the first link that you see, although it's just a chunk of Romeo's speech to Juliet. Okay? Now listen to it. We're going to cut it into feet. Shall I, see, that's how an I am works. It goes, shall I, the accent is on the second syllable. Compare, compare, goes compare. The two. Now here's an example of, because it's made out of natural speech, it's flipped. It's not perfect. So 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, the next foot has to be a sum. Now actually that's not an I am, that's what's called a trochee. It goes from a sum. So actually in this one, the accent is on the first word, not the second. That's because Shakespeare wasn't doing something absolutely mathematically perfect. That wasn't the point. He was just writing eternally beautiful poetry. Okay, that one is actually not an I am. It's okay if you vary it every once in a while. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? This, I guess you would say the accent is on the second. So it says, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Okay, that is a perfect 5-footed line where the accent is always on the second syllable. Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Now, if you read poetry like that, thou art more lovely and more temperate. Obviously, it's where you're turning poetry into something very obnoxious and mathematical. That's not what Shakespeare is doing, which is why he varies this up. And this is supposed to be a real, genuinely confused young man in love with a confused young woman. So it's supposed to be a real person talking. It's okay if it varies and if it sounds like speech. That's what I want you to do. 2 to 4 lines, and if you get like you're feeling crazy, maybe do 6 or 8. I don't know. But the reason I'm not setting the line number at, something solid is if you find it frustrating and confusing. I'm not there to help you. I'm not going to see you for 10 days. So I do want you to give it a try, though, and I do want you to have fun. And if you do think it is fun, write me a little poem in blank verse. I'd be very happy to read it. Bless you guys. Have a great weekend. I'll be missing you. I'll be excited to see you when you get back. Have a good time.